Hey everybody, Dan here with Dan's Millionaire Code. And every week I bring in a good friend who's just amazing and changing the universe in just incredible ways. Entrepreneurs and world changers. Today's guest is awesome here, and I want to give you just a little intro to what he does. He's my friend and entrepreneurial force of nature, Brock Felt. Brock, he's an investor, entrepreneur, a single father. He's raising 4 little humans all by himself. He's helped 35 startups raise over $100 million and surpassed over $1 billion in online sales through partnerships with companies like George Foreman, Vanilla Ice, Kevin Harrington, and Damon John of Shark Tank. In 2007, one of his first websites hit 3.7 million in sales in the first 6 hours.
Yeah.
Dude, you're crazy.
Yeah.
He now focuses his energy on e-commerce, brand acquisitions, and DTC product launches. And we met at this random, like on Instagram, we've seen each other and stuff.
Right. Uh-huh.
But we met at this random thing. There was 2 of these guys that were actually, I think they were coming on the podcast, but they're like, hey, I got this guy I need to meet. His name is Brock, and he's really high energy, and he's going to show us cool stuff. And then they're like, you want to go? Can you give us a ride? I'm like, oh, I want to meet Brock.
Yeah.
So we met that way.
Yeah, I actually knew about you through Rick.
Yeah.
He had been telling me to connect with you for a
Rick
long
White,
time.
he's on here, guys. You've seen him.
Yeah.
Watch his podcast.
Yeah. So he's been mentoring me a little bit on the acquisition and on the investment side. And he keeps telling me I had to meet with you.
Oh, man.
So yeah, it's funny how we ran into each other. But yeah, the gym that I go to, I've tried to find a really good place to network, and I think I've gotten more deals and more relationships out of that gym than anywhere else. And that's where I met those guys. And I actually met them running hills because I was doing 75 hard during quarantine.
Yeah,
so
you're looking good, dude.
Thanks, man. So we were running some hills, and these guys were running. We were trying to keep our distance. We were running up these hills, and then it was Aaron. And then finally we just started talking back and forth. But he's a beast. Have you seen his Instagram?
Anyways, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, he's doing some amazing things with some big
Aaron
brands.
Brimhall, and that you guys have seen some pictures of him on my Insta, but greatest photographer.
Oh man, he's phenomenal. Yeah.
Oh man, great dude. So man, tell me a little bit about some of these companies you started, but maybe from the very beginning, because really, on this podcast we bring a lot of guests on that had nothing,
right,
and have built something from nothing.
Okay. So I'll give you a little background on myself. I grew up in L.A., a single mom, was raising 3 kids on her own. And anyways, I thought that I had to go through football or whatever to get to college and to make money. And so I started doing that. And then I launched I came home one summer and launched a cell phone business out here, actually in Utah.
Whoa.
I started with some buddies. And within, I think, 9 months, we had 12 cell phone stores.
Whoa.
So it just kind of exploded. It was more of a Forrest Gump thing. We were in the right place at the right time. But part of that, prior to that, to get up the seed money for that, is I was living in Arizona at the time, and I was living in a luxury rental, which was just a fancy name for a nice apartment. And they had all these C-suite guys that would come in from out of town, and they would leave every 6 months, but they'd leave all their furniture and throw it out by the dumpster. So I was like, that's nice stuff. So I started bringing it into my apartment. And I'm like, wait a second, I bet I could make some money with this. So I started putting it on the Arizona Republic, and I was making $8 to $10 grand a month at the time selling furniture I didn't even own.
Free furniture from the dumpster.
Yeah, from the dumpster. So the people at the apartment complex came to me and like, hey, are you the guy that's going into our dumpsters? I was like, why? They're like, well, we like it because we don't have to pay another service to come and pick up the bigger stuff. Can you do that all of our locations? So I was like, sure. So anyways, I started doing it at other locations, and my income went even higher and higher.
So you're paid to dumpster dive.
I was paid to dumpster. I was paid multiple 7 or 6-figure income to dumpster dive at the time. But so they came to. So anyways, I was dating at the time, and one of the girls I was dating came to me and said, hey, we've been dating for a while. We're considering getting married. I probably should know what you do for a living. I was like, I'm in the furniture business. I have showrooms all around town. That was my kind of joke. But then I started placing ads on the Arizona Republic to drive traffic to my furniture, like classifieds, because I was using classified ads.
Yeah.
And that was how. And then that was my first banner ad. I used Microsoft Paint. Is that what the original?
Yeah.
I learned how to use Paint because I don't even think Adobe had.
Free software.
Yeah.
Comes with it.
Yeah. So I used Paint to make my first banner ad, and then that drove the traffic to my classified ad on that page. And that's how I sold all of the furniture that I didn't own.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So then that rolled over into a cell phone business, and then that business rolled into something kind of like what you have here, where I was invited to be part of an incubator It was a guy that owned law.com, and he owned incubate.com, but he owned 50 different companies that were all in the same building.
Okay.
And I was this young entrepreneur, and one of the requirements of him investing in our business is we had to go to like classes, right? So every day I would meet with like the law.com people, or not, I'd meet with them for an hour. And then the next day I'd meet with, he owned a company called Mammoth Media, and I'd meet with them to go over marketing. And then I'd meet with someone. So every day I had to go through this little, like an hour or two of classes or meeting with other investments that he had.
Yeah.
And that was how I learned.
So this is like getting paid school.
Yeah.
Paying you.
Yeah. And he invested in our company.
So you're making money and then you getting this free training.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Dude.
So that's kind of my start. And then my claim to fame was my website that some doctors came to me and said, hey, we are selling this product that basically it's an all-natural product, but it helps people with diabetes to like it helps their body circulate better. And one of the positive side effects is they're losing weight. So do you think you could sell this online? So I tried my classified thing, and it worked pretty good. I think it was called Ultra Life or something. But my assistant came in one day and said, this stuff's really cool because I can take it at night. I'm like, I don't really understand what that means. She said, well, most diet products have stimulants, and stimulants you can't take at night because you won't go to sleep. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. We should call it Night Trim. So we were selling it online. We were doing like 50 orders a day, and we renamed it Night Trim. Sales went through the roof.
Whoa.
Yeah, so then...
Just from a name change?
Just from a little name change. Yeah.
Wow.
That was one of the main things that we changed. So that went really well. And then some other people came in and said, hey, we really like what you're doing with this thing. And I was a dumb young kid, and I think we had $100,000, maybe, or $200,000 in a month. And they came in and said, hey, we want to buy this company from you. I'm like, no, I'm not selling. I really want to do this for a long time. We'll give you $2.5 million for it. Okay. So that was like my first exit.
How long were you, did it take you from inception to transaction?
Like 6 months.
That's pretty good for 6 months,
Yeah,
bro.
it was about 6 months, yeah.
Wow.
And the only thing that I was doing different than anybody else is I had created this thing called an evaluator, which is similar to what you guys are doing out there with your PC stuff. Is when somebody, it was called Diet Evaluator, and basically what it was, and it still works today, is when someone come to the website, instead of telling them what product they should get, we'd ask them questions. How tall are you? What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? Similar to what you guys are doing with your PC stuff, where you guys are taking. So we would take them through an evaluation, and then at the end, even if it wasn't my product, I would refer them to a product that would work for them.
Wow.
And so I was making affiliate money and selling my own product.
Plus, that's being honest, though, too. Hey, this is best for you.
This is really best for you, and I would get an affiliate. Because if they bought my product and it didn't, they would refund it.
Yeah.
So why lie? Like, right. So we did that, and then the company came in, and I showed them, hey, we changed the name to Night Trim. We did this evaluator thing. And I was literally, they had brought me into like this board meeting because they were a big media company, and I was in T-shirts, a T-shirt, tank top, flip-flops, and I think I had one of my kids with me. And because I didn't know what, they're like, yeah, come to our board meeting. I had no idea what that meant. Like, I grew up in L.A. I thought it was something with surfing or skateboarding. I'm like, cool, I'll go to a board meeting. So I get up in the front, and they're like, yeah, we'd like to offer you $2.5 million for your site. So, like, oh, okay, let's do it.
That's freaking great.
Yeah. So that was that was a long, long time ago. And then that rolled into my, so then another group of people came to me and said, hey, can you teach us how you launch Night Trim and some of these other businesses? I'm like, yeah, but that'll take a long time. They're like, well, okay, we have an idea. We'll record it, and then let's take those recordings and put them online, and you can sell them. I was like, all right.
Nice, dude.
Yeah, so we recorded me explaining to these guys on my it was probably the most boring videos you've ever seen in your life. And then you place your ad here, and then you do this here. Like, it was super boring, super techy. And I had a bunch of my buddies promote it, and we did $3.7 million within the first 6 hours of launching it.
And boring.
And boring.
And
it was just nerd, yeah. We did $4.2 million, but people kept trying to order, and the site wasn't working. And so some people double ordered, and so we had to, when all the dust had settled, it was $3.7 million.
That's really great.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, so that was kind of my claim to fame. And then from there, Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank, he had just been on Shark Tank. He was a neighbor of mine. He said, hey, I'm doing infomercials. Why don't we get together, and when you can come set up your office here at my office, and when a deal comes in, I'll do infomercial, you do the internet. I was like, all right, that maybe, I don't know. And then, like, I saw this really big guy come in. I'm like, who's that guy? Like, oh, that's Hulk Hogan. I was like, oh. okay, cool. I wanted, who's that guy over there? And they're like, oh, 50 Cent. He's going to be here later today. So I was like, all right, where's my office? And he literally gave me, it was about as big as this, my first office with him. You open up the door, and there was like toilet paper and all this stuff. So it was a janitor's office.
You had the closet.
I had the closet.
Oh,
I'm like, man, I'm like this big guy. I've done all this stuff online. And it had said janitor on the outside. And when I take people around, it was like super embarrassing to say, this is my office. It sells the janitor thing on there. So then I started to joke around with it a little bit. And they're like, why do you do that? I'm like, because I clean house. Like, it became a joke. But a lot of the product, and then it also became a joke because almost all the products that I had sold, I had found in a trash can. Like a lot of the products that weren't selling for George Foreman or for the doctors or for anything else that were online. So I'll back up a little bit. Sorry, I'm going to talk a little bit.
No, that's good.
So one of my first meetings with Kevin Harrington, I went in and he had in the trash a product. And I was like, well, what is that product? He's like, oh, we did this and did that and it didn't work. I was like, oh, do you have any more of it? He's like, yeah, we have warehouses full of it. Like, okay. So I literally grabbed it out of the trash and brought it, and it was one of our most successful products. I put it all online and sold it.
So they taking garbage and turning it into something that's amazing.
Right.
Wow.
And a lot of it was it was kind of like the difference between the name of Ultralife and Nitrim. Mm-hmm. They weren't naming it right. They weren't placing the ads in the right places. They weren't, just a bunch of the little things. They're actually.
So this is not a fluke, though. How many products have you done this with?
Hundreds. Well, I've tested hundreds online. Hundreds of them haven't been successful, but I've tested it with hundreds and figured out this is what the process is and this is what needs to work.
So this is your experience from the Nitrim, right?
Yeah.
Stuff, and you're just transferring that to other products.
Right.
Right. And that formula works. That process.
Yeah. Yeah. That process works really good. And then during quarantine, it all kind of came tumbling down a little bit, or when we had to go into quarantine because a lot of my products were stuck in China or elsewhere.
Yeah.
I couldn't, and I couldn't get product over here. So then I'm like, man, I got to do something. I got to transition. I really don't know much about Facebook or Facebook ads. So I literally I got on there, started finding people. I found a 22-year-old kid out of Boston that had just graduated from college. And I'm like, I need you to teach me Facebook ads. Because he would launch a site and do like $100,000 right away. I'm like, I need you to teach me. He's like, oh, I'm busy. And he didn't really understand. I'm like, how much do you make right now? And he was actually still working for like a renovation company. He's like, man, I'm getting like $25 an hour or whatever. I'm like, okay, I'll pay you $100 an hour. And I need you an hour today, an hour tomorrow. And I would just Venmo him. I'm pretty sure I was like the beer budget for a lot of these college kids.
All right, pizza beer.
Yeah. So I was Venmoing. So I learned that during quarantine. And then I needed to transition a lot too because I couldn't get products. So I started contacting banks. I'm like, hey, what do you got? Like, what's going out of business? What's held up? What's made here in America? And a lot of it was fashion. It was like clothing brands. So we started working on acquiring as many fashion brands as we can, and they're crushing it. But we don't have to worry about them. But a lot of our other stuff we've had to put on hold a little bit.
But you've got all this inventory here.
Yeah.
In the U.S., right?
Yeah.
So you're selling what's available.
Right.
SWAT. Sell what's available today.
Yeah. So, kind of interesting. I got a call from a bank back in Florida from when I lived, and they said, hey, we've got, with this whole thing going on, we actually have a client in Salt Lake, and they have $20 million worth of inventory that's just sitting there. And I was like I almost couldn't breathe. I was so excited. I'm like, are you sure it's here in the U.S.? Because everyone says it's here in the U.S. Are you sure it's here in the U.S.? And they're like, yeah. We've gone and done inventory on it. We'll give it to you for $4 million or whatever. Like it was substantially discounted.
That their cost of goods was 20.
Yeah, I think their cost of goods was probably around 14, but they were saying that the retail value or wholesale value on it was like 20. Well, they had appraised it for if they needed to resell.
And you're getting them for 4.
Yeah. And then so that was one of the ones that we worked on. And now the bank calls me all the time. It sounds really unfortunate, and I apologize if someone's going through a hard time with, it is rough. And I've gone through that too and lost a lot. But I'm getting contacted a lot by companies, banks primarily, that have the inventory. And here's the best part about it. The banks have already invested money in it. And a lot of times they set aside money for legal or for whatever. Mm-hmm. But they're taking their legal money and giving it to me for marketing. So they're saying, hey, we'll give you...
They're paying for your ads.
They're paying
to sell their old inventory.
Yep.
That they own, the note on, right?
Yeah, and giving me the... And turning the company over to me once the note's paid.
You know what the big thing is, guys and girls out there? You know, a lot of times there's cycles, usually every decade or so.
Right.
There's some like mortgage crisis, right?
Yeah.
Some sort of virus crisis, some sort of Y2K, end of the world crisis. You know, we've been around a little bit.
Yeah.
And there's two choices I think people have. They can bury their head in the sand,
Yeah.
you know, get scared, or they can get proactive and look for opportunity. And the one thing I've noticed in our industry, at least, is most of your competition starts putting their head in the sand. They want to
Right.
hang on to what they have instead of look for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that in your business?
I have, and what I've mainly noticed is, especially when I'll give us a hard time as older people, is we don't want to learn something new all the time. I'll be honest, I didn't want to learn something new. I had to humble myself enough to call a kid to learn how to do this. Now I do my own ads and I crush it. And now we have like competitions, but and I win.
Wow.
Yeah, so I have noticed that, but I've also noticed in a lot of when I was living in Arizona at the time, I met Robert Kiyosaki. Right, he was
Yeah,
like
he's
rich,
cool.
rich dad, poor dad, and he used to always say that money doesn't disappear; it just changes hands. And so when we went into quarantine, I'm like, where's the money going? Because it doesn't just disappear, right? Like if it's supposedly backed by gold and all this other stuff, well, where is it going? And so I know where a lot of it is going right now out of my pocket, but I've got to figure out how to position myself the other way so that it's coming back in. And so that's when we started selling really cool stuff and started selling stuff. And what I mean by that is like I was walking through here and I saw one of my water bottles in,
Yeah, I know.
in your break room. So we started selling water bottles and we started selling clothes and we started.
You can sell anything.
Yeah. Yeah, we had to transition because we
You're
were
at the
selling.
North Pole with snow cones.
Yeah. No, I don't. So I like to sell things that people actually want because it just makes it easier.
Yeah.
You know. But we had to transition from selling really cool stuff like techie gadgets that weren't like essential. Like what you do is essential. Like people need computers and all that stuff. But like we were just selling little widgets and gadgets and things that were really cool but were more impulse buys, and had to transition to boring stuff. Like we sell clothes. And we sell those water bottles. I brought you a couple samples of my other fruit water bottles.
Oh, nice.
But we just sell stuff that's boring now. But it's exciting because it makes a lot of money, right? And it's easier to do.
My ADD is going to shift us
Yeah,
to
shift.
the meat and potatoes. So
Okay.
I think everyone out there is trying to figure out how to do it because a lot of people out there have companies. A lot of people
Yeah.
out there, some of them are unemployed that are watching this, are trying to figure
Right.
out what next. How does someone get started? Like, how would you recommend from your experience if they wanted to get into selling anything?
So the main thing is you should just sell something that's easy and something that you know something about. For example, clothes. I know that there's millions of companies out there. Nike, Adidas. There's all Prada and all these like real high end brands. But the bottom line is everyone needs clothes. And if you just find a need, like you could literally go to Shopify right now and open up a Shopify store for free, and you can go to Printful. And it will connect to Shopify, and you just upload a design. And when someone orders a shirt from your store, it will go to Printful. They'll print it and ship it, and you never even have to touch it.
Printful.
Yeah, Printful. There's also companies down the street here that have warehouses full of product. One of the I won't mention. I don't want to get in trouble, but one of the companies down there, they sell refurbished the doorbells, the video doorbells.
Oh, yeah.
So the video doorbells, if they go into retail or wherever, and they just even someone opens a cellophane, they have to go back and get recertified. So they ship them back, and then you can buy like a $100, either $150 doorbell, video doorbell for like $30.
Whoa.
But then you just put it on a site, and so that's one of my sites is saltcitygadgets.com. We just sell those. And we don't do anything fancy. We put up the site. We didn't even realize until about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we didn't even have a customer support number on there. It said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we were still getting tons of sales. Like we weren't doing, but we also we were selling stuff that people wanted because of COVID and Christmas and shopping. People want to make sure porch pirates aren't stealing their stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then people also they're just a little bit more protective right now, so they really are into security stuff. So that's one of the things that we started selling. So I hope that answers your question.
So take a product,
Okay.
right, and stick it up on Shopify.
Yep.
And get it out to the world. Start marketing it. And you just got to start? Is that the secret?
Yeah, you just got to start. The other thing that's really easy, but you have to have your process in place, is work with a micro influencer. Just find someone that has 10,000 to 20,000 followers. And a lot of them right now, unfortunately, sorry to all my influencers out there, are desperate. Like, they used to charge $10, $20, like $2, $3, $5, $10,000 to do a promo. And now a lot of them will do, if they're like the product, they'll do it for free for a percentage of revenue.
Like rev share.
Rev share, yeah. So one of our secret sauces is when we work with an influencer and they want 1,000 or 500 or 10 grand, is usually whatever you pay them up front. So if you pay them $1,000 up front, they usually will do about 1,000 to 2,000 in sales. If you pay them 10 grand up front, they usually do 10 grand to 15 grand in sales. But the secret to doing that is you tell them, look, you promote it, you put it on your page, promote it, give us ad access, and we'll run ads through your page. And they love that because then you're building their brand and you're getting them more followers, but you're getting the revenue. So now right? So now it's a real partnership, and now they're going to want to work with you a lot longer. So if we pay someone $1,000 or whatever it is, and they do the promo, now we're going to put more money into it. We'll do 10, 20, 30, 40 grand in sales off of that, and their followers go through the roof, and they love it because they made money, they grew their audience, and now I don't have to worry about marketing for a long time because they're going to call me and say, can I do it again?
I have a question on affiliate software. So that's big, getting influencers that are, kind of that micro influencer. We're coding some our own software. We used a different company before, getting out of the business, to track affiliate referrals, where you pay them a percentage of the revenue. Right. Is there a good one you recommend now?
Yeah. So actually, Facebook has it built into their platform now, the brand collaboration tool. So in the back of there, so you can literally go into Facebook now. And in the brand, so they change the name of the tools like every week. So whatever, I'm sure by the time someone watches this, they've already changed it. But it's a brand collaboration tool. So I can go in there for your company, and we can write a creative briefing. Like, hey, we want someone that will do this, this, and this. And then they'll put the briefing in there. And then thousands of influencers, Facebook will invite thousands of influencers to present themselves, or almost like a request for a proposal, right? Like an RFP. Wow. But yeah, so they can go in there and just put that request in there. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything as far as like outside of that ecosystem that you recommend?
Referon, I think is what it's called. Referon. So the main other thing, though, too, if you do something like that, is you really have to script talking points. Like it used to be.
Oh yeah.
It used to be that an influencer could just like look cute on camera and talk about it. It doesn't work anymore. Like, you really have to find more of an influencer that wants to be a brand spokesperson and is willing to get out of their comfort zone a little bit and help present. So, for example, in fashion, a lot of them will just get on camera and look cutesy or whatever, and sometimes that works. Sometimes that will get to break even, but it won't go past that. And so what we've had to do is you can't tell them what to say, but you need to give them talking points. Like, hey, this product is made out of this material. Here's what it looks good with. Here's where it matches. And you have to give them these talking points. And the most important part of the whole thing is you have to give them a call to action. So you have to say, go to such and such website and put in this and use this code and do it now. And it's super awkward for a lot of influencers because they've never really done that before. All right? So a lot of them, we're working with people like, oh, we tried that. We paid them $500. We paid them 10 grand. We didn't get that. And then we'll go do it, and they're like, they'll call us screaming the next day, and they're like, wait, we can't keep up with the orders. You can't do, like, I'm like, these are problems we cause, not fix. But,
that's awesome, dude.
So, but they, yeah. So if you do that and you work with them and actually create a really good relationship with them, they'll crush it. Like on yours, I would for sure have them almost like an unboxing, have them go through step by like. Here's the chip, here's the graphic card it has in it, here's the memory, here's why we chose that for this machine. And if you want this machine exactly, you have to go to this website now. And then the other part of that is having all your retargeting in place so that you can follow up with them. I saw this thing on AdRoll. I saw this thing on AdRoll where they said you have to see, and I don't know if this is true, I don't believe it to be true. Someone has to see your brand 57 times before they buy it. I'm like, no, in our case, it's usually 5 to 7, but we're also not selling beautiful, right? So a lot of it comes into you have to set up the account so that you have the front end prospecting side, and then on the retargeting side, which is super inexpensive, to follow up with them.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will promote and then they're like, oh, it didn't work. You're like, you don't even know, because most of the time an add to cart, so if someone adds to their cart, like puts a product in there, 50% of those should turn into a sale over 30 days.
Yep,
But
50% of carts.
Yeah. We just went way nerd. I went way nerd again.
No, this is
I
this is
nerd out
huge.
on
So,
this
so
stuff.
those of you guys that already have products online, this is gold. And if you're just getting started, this is stuff you want to think about from the very beginning, right?
Right, for sure.
That's cool, man.
For sure.
This is exciting.
And there's so many cool systems in place. This is so funny because, to be honest with you, until about 6 months ago, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. Like, I've been raising money for all these companies up in Silicon Slopes, just trying to like figure out what I wanted to do. Like, everyone's got like AI and this and that, and way over my head. So I would just put these events together and bring in all these investors and raise money for them. But like, I'm a nerd. I love just sitting in a room now and just like putting these up and watching sales come in and partnering with people. It's so much fun.
This
So
is
a
amazing.
lot of these tools are already in place. Like if you're watching and you're part of your group, like Klaviyo already has all the built-in emails that you use to follow up with things. There's all these other pop-up things that already have everything pre-written for you. Like
Klaviyo's the email.
the email follow-up. So it does like add to cart follow-ups, abandon cart.
That's Spotify specific.
What? No, Shopify.
Shopify.
Shopify,
Excuse me,
yeah.
not Spotify. Shopify.
Yeah, so it's in their app store and you can just plug it in.
You were telling me about that.
Yeah.
This is cool, man. Man. All right, man. I'm going to shift one more gear.
Yeah, go for it.
Tell me about your biggest ass kicking in life and how
Oh
you
my
dealt
gosh, man. And how what?
and how you dealt with it. Are you
All
still
right,
here?
so my biggest ass kicking, so years ago, when I was doing well, I had launched a website that that was doing pretty good. We were doing millions of dollars. We were selling like video courses, almost like Video Professor. And some guys came to me like, hey, we're affiliates. We'll send traffic to you. And when we send traffic to you, pay us like 50% of the sales. I was like, oh, it's not bad. Yeah, that's normal. So they get a $50 sale. I send them $25. So we were already doing a couple $1 million a month, but they had sent like $6 million to $7 million in sales and were just slamming us with traffic. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. We're ship. Then all of a sudden phone calls start coming in and customers like, I didn't order this. I didn't order this.
Oh.
I didn't order this. We're like, what? They had literally stolen $6 million worth of credit cards. Well, they had another website, and when someone would order from their website, they would take that credit card and come to my website and order. And I was sending out the affiliate commissions really quick because you want to keep them going.
So all those charges got disputed?
Yeah, so all these charges. So I went to my neighbor at the time who had worked with. He started MasterCard in Tampa, and I was like, hey, something's weird going on here. So he went. He came back. He's like, we need to go to the clubhouse. I lived at a club in Tampa. He's like, we need to go to the clubhouse and have cigars. I was like, oh no, this is bad. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, all those customers that have ordered from you ordered from this site, and then they ordered from your site. I'm like, oh. So should I partner with them? Like, no. What I'm saying is they're stealing the credit cards. So not only did I have to refund the $6 million, but I had about another $2 million or $3 million in chargeback fees, all that, customer support.
That's big
I mean,
money.
it crushed me, man. It absolutely crushed me. But I also just crushed me in like partners, like who do I partner with? It was stuff all over the internet about me, because like all these consumers were upset. It was rough.
Oh.
So what I learned from that is, and also from Rick, is just chunk it. Like just go here, make sure it's cool, and then chunk it a little bit here. And then I also learned a ton about security, right? Like how to develop processes to like really good customer experiences, where the customer, we are like following up with them and like adding more value and giving them free stuff and surveying them, but really also what we're doing is just making sure that it's a legit purchase.
That's what we do. So we have like a autoresponder after the orders happen.
Yeah.
It goes out and message them, hey, here's your order. You're going to
Yeah.
enjoy. Give them some extra lovely. And then that way they can acknowledge back. And they also can give you feedback,
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. So that was a really rough one for me. I had to lay out. And then it was also at the same time that the 2009, like the I don't know,
Oh, yeah.
mortgage,
Big crash.
the big crash. So
Double whammy.
yeah, so I had that, and then but that one was rough.
You seem a lot stronger from it now. You learned
Yeah,
from it.
I'm glad you say that. That was a tough one.
Oh man, that's a lot of money to lose that quickly, huh?
Yeah, and I wasn't set up for it. I mean, I was just a very aggressive, and I was very aggressive. So every dollar I took, I'd put back into my business, which probably wasn't the smartest, but it's also probably the reason why I grew so fast.
Okay, so as we tie up here, I just want to ask you, what's the last big piece of advice you want to give everyone out there that's thinking about starting their own business, or if they have their own?
Ask. If you don't know, ask. Every single deal that I've done, every relationship that's been really good, or business I've started, every single one of them comes into some sort of danger zone. Every single one of them. Like, even a simple real estate transaction, sometimes there's some sort of danger zone where that thing can go sideways, and you have to have the courage and humility to just ask. And that's what I've learned is a lot of times I just want to be able to do things or think that I know what I'm doing. But by reaching out and asking, can I tell a real quick story?
Yeah.
So these guys came to me, and I'm bragging a little bit, but it's a cool story. These guys came to me, and they had these bulletproof shelters that they put inside of kids' classrooms. So if there was a tornado or hurricane, an alarm goes off, they run in, they lock themselves in. Mm-hmm. But also if there's an active shooter, they can all lock themselves in. So this company came, they're like, hey, we have 300 schools, and we need $1 million per school to go install them because the schools can't pay us till after. So we need $80 million. I was like, dude, I raise 100, 300, 400 grand. There's no way I can do that. And they gave me this whole pitch about how it's helping save kids and all this. I'm like, it's $80 million. I can't. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll call up one of my buddies and I'll just take him to lunch, and at least I'll get good advice and I'll get a good lunch. So, Rick.
Oh.
So I go to lunch. So I present the whole thing, and he just, I'm like, so we need $80 million. We just need a little bit here, and there, and here's how it'll work. Okay. I'm like, okay, what? Okay. And he gets up and leaves. I'm like, what is okay? So these guys called, they're like, well, were you able to raise any money? I'm like, I don't know. Like, he said okay, but I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that means. And then literally, like, that night or the next night, I get a call, and it's like, hey, I'm so-and-so. I'm his attorney. So what are the deal points? We're drafting up the agreement right now. I was like, wow, that is...
Whoa.
So I guess my point, sorry, my alarm went off, is to ask, because you never know. You never know. Yeah, so I was blown away with that one. So we chunked that one. COVID's put it in a little bit of a delay, but it's still moving.
That's awesome. That's a big hit.
Yeah, it was a big hit. I mean, we baby stepped it like before, right? We did a couple. We're doing a couple, a couple more, but yeah. Yeah, you just said okay.
That's totally Rick.
It is Rick, right? And then you got him walked out.
You guys should rewind in the podcast here in some of the previous episodes and look for Rick White. And he talks about how he went from like homeless under a bridge to where he is today. So
yeah.
It's pretty freaking cool.
He's really cool. Well, what's really cool about Rick is
he's awesome.
Even if you just follow him, you can see. I've learned more about. So I've been partners with Rick for a little bit, off and on, through about 2 or 3 deals. I've probably never completely been with the guy a total of more than an hour or 2. Like total. Like I've been with him 3 minutes here, 5 minutes here. I've learned more about life and business from that guy in the 3 to 5 minutes than I get from him, and just from the example that he lives through his like social media stuff than anyone. Like he's phenomenal.
He's a great guy. Great guy. So, dude, really, I just want to summarize a little bit of some of this wisdom here because my ADD takes me everywhere.
Go for it.
So a few things. Something as simple as a name change with your product can make all the difference.
Right.
The example you have with Night Trim. Having instead of just like pitching your product, sometimes a evaluator is a very useful tool to find out, kind of qualifies your lead into to what they want, right? Another thing you said is get started. Sell easy stuff.
Boring, easy stuff, yeah.
Boring, easy stuff. Another piece of wisdom you had was micro-influencers.
Right.
And you said to be very specific of their talking points.
Yeah, you have to make sure that you draft their talking points for them.
And they got to be a brand salesperson. A lot of times they're not comfortable with that, but make sure you find ones that are.
Yeah.
And then a call to action that you script, buy your product or go to your site or whatever it may be, right? So that's big. And then you talked also about Facebook brand collaboration tool is a good thing to look into and start researching and understand that. And a program called Referon.
Yeah, yep.
All right. And then we talked about your giant ass kicking, and the big lesson there is to take it in chunks. You said.
Yeah.
So you're testing, verifying, just to make sure you don't lose the whole boat, right?
Right.
And then your big piece of advice is ask if you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So just simply ask, and people may say yes, they may say no.
They always say yes, though. It's so crazy.
It's the confidence, all right?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, but I think just the humility of asking them is like, even I've had people that haven't been happy with me sometimes, and I'll even call them like, look, I know that I messed up. I need some advice. What can I do? Always. Then the other part of that, especially for entrepreneurs that are starting out, this is the best piece of advice I've ever gotten on the ask part, is if you go ask for money, you get advice. If you ask for advice, you usually get money. And so what I mean by that is usually when I meet with my mentors, the number one question I ask them is, I'm looking or considering doing this deal. Could you give me some advice on the best way to structure and do this? If I go to them and say, hey, I'm going to do this deal and I need money, I don't know, it changes the psychology of it.
That's huge.
Yeah, it has worked. Yeah.
So if you ask for money, you get advice. You ask for advice, you get money.
Yeah. Usually that's what happens. And you get a partner that's excited about working with you.
Wow.
That's been a game changer for me.
Okay, I'm gonna underline those.
Yeah.
My notes. When I write my book, I'm gonna put the Brock quotes in there.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, man. Okay, where can people find you?
So I as cheesy as it sounds, all of my mentors, all my investors, including everyone I've met, have been through social media. Like I love Facebook, I love Instagram and LinkedIn.
Okay.
And then probably one day, I'll have brockfelt.com up. I bought the, like I own it, but I don't really use it. So if you just go to Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, just search for Brock Felt. And I love it when people
Your
reach
Instagram's
out.
Great, man. I think that's a good hub too, right? Kind
Yeah.
of get you everywhere.
Yeah.
And so can people message you though?
Yeah,
Is that
absolutely.
cool? You're cool about that?
Totally cool.
Okay, guys, you can message Brock, and
Yep.
that's amazing access there. Wow. Brock, thank you for sharing all this wisdom. This is gold, though. And guys and girls, like, I would rewind and just review these lessons here and incorporate that. There's only two things I ask you guys to do with the knowledge here, because Brock's not charging you to share his wisdom to virtually mentor you, is one, execute. Don't just listen to it. Don't be an asshole. Make sure you execute. And then two, share it with friends and loved ones. Share this podcast with friends and loved ones. You guys have been watching Dan's Millionaire Code. Thank you for your time, and let's get executing. Thanks, Brock.
You're welcome, man.